Hey, good evening. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to The Unstoppable Singer. I am your host, Danielle Tucker. I am a singer, a vocal coach, and a lead singer with the Mighty Untouchables band. The Unstoppable Singer is a live interview style show where I follow the lives of real professional singers. And these singers have made some incredible achievements in their lives and careers. And we talk about the challenges and the triumphs that come with a career under the bright lights and learn what being unstoppable looks like to them. So if this sounds like it's for you, then stick around. We're going to jump right in. I want to introduce my incredible guest tonight. It is Saint Mesa. I'm sorry. Let me start that over. Saint Mesa may have been born in sunny Southern California, but its brooding tones often sound otherworldly. A project of multi-instrumentalist Danny McCook, Saint Mesa's sounds are tense, darkly cinematic, with deep roots in tribalistic beats. Danny has played live at the Sasquatch and Bottlerock festivals, among many others, and Saint Mesa's dynamic range has landed it on ABC shows, in advertisements for H&M and Puma, and in vaunted properties like Marvel and Netflix. So let's bring him on. Hello, hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm sorry I butchered the beginning of
Oh,
your
you're all good.
introduction there. My mouth will start working eventually here, but
Yeah, we'll see.
it's so great to have you on. I was just mentioning that Iris from Team Unstoppable, she and her kids, Em and Noah, are big fans of yours. So I definitely wanted to see if you could give them a shout out to start
Oh yeah,
things off
shout out
tonight.
Em and Noah. Woo! Thank you guys. Love you.
She says that I believe she said Noah requests lion every day.
Oh man, I love it.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it's great to have you here. Why don't we just kick things off by talking about how your year is going so far, what you have
Sure.
going on
Yeah.
project wise?
Totally. Yeah. No. I mean, year's been great so far. Really just trying to finish up this next body of work. I'm doing an EP that is coming out April 14th, and the
Mhm.
first single actually drops on this Friday.
Oh wow,
And so we'll
awesome.
do, yeah, I'm excited. We'll do it. Timing of all this worked out perfectly. I haven't done anything in a minute, so this is great.
Oh, that's
But yeah, the
perfect.
first song will come out on this Friday, and then 2 weeks later, the next single will come out. I think that's April 7th. Yeah, April 7th. I'm gonna remember my dates. And then the full EP will drop on the 14th of April. So yeah, really just been finishing that up and getting prepped for music video stuff. I'm doing 2 music videos for this EP, which I'm excited for. I haven't
Mhm.
done any music videos in a minute, and so that'll be cool. Doing a bit of traveling, just living life.
Yeah, I love it. Well, let's jump right in to the project, and maybe you can just kind of give us an overview of how the project came to be, what inspired it, what it's all about, and what goes into your creative process.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to do like a full kind of like a summary of where the whole thing came from, or do you want to kind of just go
That would be
specifically for
awesome.
the
Let's
EP?
go there for
We can
sure.
go. We can go there. Yeah, we can do the whole thing.
Let's do the whole thing.
um, so I started making music with my buddies when I was a little guy, like 10 years old. My friends at church were like, "We want to. Can you play bass in our band?" And I was like, "I don't know how to play bass, but okay." And they're like, "You can borrow
Yes,
our
let's
dad's
go
bass."
for
It's like,
it.
all right. I just want to hang out,
Why not?
I don't really have any specific interest in music. I just kind of wanted to hang out with my friends. And
Yeah.
so I started learning bass, and we played some shows and stuff, just having fun, hanging out. And then I started learning piano. I started teaching myself piano when I was about 16 or 17. And for me, that was when the like music like really opened up,
Mhm.
having the ability to really make, because when you're on bass you're playing one note most of the time, for the most part you're like a rhythm kind of section essentially.
Mhm.
And so having the full like symphonic element of all of the notes spread out everywhere and you can do everything, like for me that's when I started getting really passionate about playing music.
Yeah.
And then I started recording my first ever like recording that I did. I mean, this was before, you know, now recording equipment's so accessible, which is amazing.
Mhm.
But back in the day, I had my brother's old Toshiba laptop, and we had do you remember when like webcams had like a headset with a microphone that you had to
Yes.
use, like in order to talk on the webcams? So I literally would like plug that into the mic jack on his old computer and just set it on top of the piano and just record myself playing piano.
Mhm.
And that got me just really excited about recording music.
Mhm.
And so basically from there, I transitioned into like doing GarageBand, and then I transitioned into Logic, and started learning about like actual production and layering and different instruments and like all of that stuff.
And all self-taught.
Yeah,
You're
YouTube.
just picking things up as you go along on a
Pretty much. And that's
weekly
still true
basis.
to this day, just making it up as I go along.
I love that so much.
Yeah, and so basically just very long snowbally story. I ended up starting to produce music, and I would like hit up friends and be like, "Hey, come sing on this song that I made," because I never sang. I wasn't a singer. Um, and I was like super not a singer, and so I was like, I would hit up friends to come and sing on tracks and stuff, and I was just like experimenting with different genres and all that. And then I finally one day made this track, and I really liked it, and no one was available to sing or anything like that, so I decided I would do it. I was like, why not? And then I did it, and then I made a full song, and I was like, oh, it's actually kind of cool. And then I
Um,
made like another 15 songs, then I released it, and then someone heard about it, and they became my manager, and it like was this whole snowball thing. And then like 2 years later, I signed a record deal with Interscope, um, and it was just like so much. And honestly, for me at the time, it was really tough because I was like, again, not a singer. And
uh-huh.
so there was so much imposter syndrome, like especially being
Oh,
signed to a major label like that and being like, I I am not supposed to be here. Like it was crazy. But basically I was on the label, and I was doing tours. We were doing festival runs and all that stuff. And then due to a bunch of stuff that happened at the label executively, like there was like a
mhm.
whole fiasco with one of the A&Rs that signed me. I ended up getting dropped off the label, which was a real big bummer at the time. And it
Mhm.
felt like a really big setback, because it was like I felt like, that's like a big step in a music career is, getting signed to a big major label.
Yeah.
At least that was my understanding. And so, coming out of that was like, oh shoot, what do I do? And it was pretty scary for a bit, because that was my whole thing, for a couple years. And so coming out of that, and at the time, the music that I was making on the label was kind of a little bit more indie pop vibes, a little bit indie rock, a little bit.
Mhm.
um and it was fun. I still do like that genre of music, but I think for me, there was always an element of it feeling forced, like having to
Mm.
make music for this label, to like make hits. Like I felt like they were trying to make me into like this like Imagine Dragons type band. Like they wanted that stuff
Yeah,
from me.
okay.
And I think that the pressure to do that made me so not want to do that.
Mm, mhm.
And it just didn't feel like real. And so there was a lot of struggle there, but getting out of the label, I didn't have that pressure, and I was like, I could make whatever I wanted. And at the time, I had started dabbling in some kind of darker, more tribally, like cinematic sounding music.
Mhm.
And that was actually the Lion was actually the last song that I released on the label. And that was kind of my like step into this darker cinematic world.
Okay.
um, and so coming out of that, I had like some leftover pop songs, but I had like a couple of these darker songs, and I was like, I can't do both anymore. I can't do both. I have to go in a direction and commit to a vibe so that it
Mhm.
makes sense when you're listening to hear, a consistency. And so that's when I did Lion, and I did this other song called Murky and Throne, and I kind of developed this whole brand essentially.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a lot of kind of experimentation for me. I did like a writing trip in Nicaragua. You know, I was going out to kind of discover what I want Saint
Wow.
Mesa to be now that I'm
Mm-hmm.
fully kind of owning everything myself, and I have full control over everything, and I kind of allowed myself to really explore and experiment what that could be for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was cool, and I feel like I've really landed in a really cool spot where I've kind of carved out a little niche for myself. It like there was always a struggle when making pop aligned music where
Mm-hmm.
you're competing. It's like a competition. You're essentially competing for listens with every up and coming pop artist. And
Right.
so that struggle, I was just like, why am I even engaging in this? Like, what is the art in, having the like I remember talking with a label A&R, and they were talking about the statistics of people that skip a song, whether they hear vocals in the first 5 seconds or not. And I was like,
Wow.
why do I have to know this? I don't want to know that. Like,
Oh yeah, you can't unknow it
then every
now.
song I'm like, should I do vocals in the beginning? Like, because they're gonna skip it if they don't hear that. Like, I don't want to think about that stuff. We're trying to make art.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was so nice to be free of all of that and just do what I wanted to do. And
Mm-hmm.
like I have a song off of the first EP that I did in this kind of genre that's like just this weird instrumental with like creepy horn sound that I played. Where is it? Play this like a buffalo horn kind of thing. It's like, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I can do whatever I want. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Um, but I don't know. Yeah, it's been a really long journey, and I'm just really happy that people like what I'm doing now, which is really cool. Um, because it genuinely does feel like me,
Mm-hmm.
and it feels very like it feels like a proper representation of how I want my stuff to sound, and I feel like it lines up with my aesthetic, and it lines up with like the type of art that I like, and so it
Mm-hmm.
it feels very, very finally like personally connected to me.
Yeah.
And it's cool that people have been responding well to it. So yeah,
Yeah.
so that's kind of where things are at.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, that's got to be feel so amazing to have the label be part of your journey where that's a major milestone for most artists. That's the thing that people are gunning for all the time,
Yeah,
and that's kind of like the dream, right? And your experience of that, it sounds like it was good, but at the same time not fully you expressed in what you
exactly.
wanted to be doing creatively, and then to just take everything into your own hands and create what you have today. And it gained so much traction and and popularity. That's got to be really fulfilling.
It really is, and I think like it's cool to see. Like I have more streams and viewer and like consistent streams and consistent listeners now than I did when I was on a major label.
Hmm.
And to me, that's like a really satisfying thing to know. Like, okay, like it would like the boot. Like I'd have like I could look at like my stats on Spotify or whatever, and you see like big spikes when like a song would come out when the label would like push for like a single or whatever, and then they would
Hmm.
go kind of go back down to like a resting amount. But now with all the stuff that I've been creating, it's just like a constant just like block of like people listening to my music, and it's like to me that's so cool to be. It's like very validating
Yeah.
to be like, okay, this is like there's like a base of people who actually consistently want to engage in this art and aren't
Hmm.
just clicking on a button that got pushed to their feed. Like there are people who
Right.
are actually just like checking up to see if I've made new music to go and listen to, which is crazy.
Yeah.
um yeah, very validating for sure.
Yeah. I'm interested to know what you attribute that trajectory to. And I know this is moving into the space of like educating singers, which is, what we want to do here. And it just, me kind of looking at your overall marketing strategy. It just seems it's so brilliant. It's so well executed. Were there things that you were doing strategy wise to make that trajectory move like that, or was it just the music just taking off for you?
A little bit of both. I would say it's more. I mean, I've expressed this a bunch, but I feel like so much of music success is like right time, right place kind of thing. A lot of
Mhm.
times,
Yeah.
like there are things that you can do to put yourself in the right places.
Mhm.
But for me, a good amount of it just felt like people just really started liking the music,
Yeah.
and because also like I released the first batch of like this new genre of music like I think sometime in the beginning of or kind of like the first few months of 2019.
Okay.
And so there was a kind of a long break in between where, it was just the music that existed and then I was working on a bunch of new stuff, developing the new stuff. And so the bump in streams are basically from like 2020 till now. And it just kind
Mhm.
of like I think for me a thing that has been cool to see is you could upload something and it could just take a year for
Mhm.
people to figure out that they like it. You know what I mean? Or people to find
Yeah.
it. And when more people find it and start sharing it, there's a snowball effect essentially with all of your other songs too.
Mhm.
And that's kind of what happened. One of my songs, Lion, ended up getting, I mean, not like hugely popular on TikTok,
Mhm.
relative, like it's relative because TikTok's insane.
Mhm.
Um, but it started getting some traction on TikTok around 2020 and people started checking it out and like so many different like genre. I was gonna say genres of people, but like kind of
Yeah.
makes sense. Like
Kind
different
of
like subgroups.
subcultures.
Yeah, yeah, culture subgroups of people that found it, and like right now there's like a whole community of like authors and like writers
Hmm.
that have latched onto the music and have it in all of their playlists and like put it behind their reels and stuff. And so it was cool to see like time like not be like I don't know how to describe it. Like people put a lot of emphasis on the like release week, release month of your
Yeah.
song and they want it to be massive and it's like that's good, but if you can have people consistently listening to your music over a
Mhm.
long span of time,
Mhm.
that's what you want. I don't want to spike every time I release and then it goes back down. I
Yeah.
want a rise consistently like going all the way up.
Right.
Um and so there was a little I mean, like, marketing is, like it's just social media these days, you know what I mean, for
Mhm.
the most part, like so if you can do good on social media and I've had a struggle with this actually. I hate social media. It's nice for some things, but
Mhm.
I hate the pressure that social media
Yeah.
has,
Mhm.
where you have to be on TikTok, you have to be posting like every day,
Mhm.
multiple times a day. Like that's crazy to me. Like I don't have the bandwidth to make
Who
something
does
that
that?
I know. Well, and like and but it works for people.
Yeah.
Like some people will be like, "Oh yeah, I made a TikTok like I made like 10 TikToks every day for like a year and now I have like 7 billion followers." I'm like, "I don't get why."
Mm.
Like um but for me I found that I basically I'm trying to like and I'm still on this journey, but I think I found a little bit of it, but I'm figuring out how to do social media in a way that to me still feels like art.
Mhm.
Because if it feels like a chore, if it feels like I'm regurgitating the same stuff that everyone else is doing to somehow get attention,
Right.
uh I, I can't do that. I just can't. To
Mhm.
me it feels like a completely antithetical to the type of project that I'm doing, which
Yeah.
is, a very genuine expression of me. And
Mhm.
so to like have to do like a TikTok with like the little robot voice in the captions, like, this is how I made my song. And I'm like, I don't, that's not me. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so I've just been trying to like make cool reels and make like little mini, like 30-second, like aesthetic videos that maybe sometimes they're performance, sometimes they're just to the music. But to me, that's been really fun, and it's also been like a stretching my creativity in another way in like a video format, which I haven't really done a whole lot of.
Mhm.
And so I don't know, it's like finding ways to market your music on social media just
Mhm.
by making more art.
Yeah.
I think for me that's worked better than at least better for me
Yeah.
than doing like the trend kind of thing.
Right. I know it seems so smart. And you also have, the history to back up, taking it in that direction too, where,
Yeah.
you have experienced some genuine organic growth with your music, just letting it, settle into the atmosphere on its
Yeah.
own and letting it, get traction that way. But then to also frame social media in that light where you can put your blinders on, even though like everybody is following a
It's
formula,
so hard.
everybody's doing it a certain way, and it makes you feel like you should be doing all those things. But when you do have that ability like you do to kind of put your blinders on and just be like, well, I'm just going to do this my way, I'm going to do my thing, and I'm going to handle it, with my artistic sensibility. And I think that's such a smart move on your part, and is that's probably going to be the thing that will, make all of your content viral.
I hope so. I mean, and I think that the more I've been in this, the less I care about virality of content, and
Yeah.
it's more about like, am I making something that will stand the test of time, essentially.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think that if you have something cool and if you are really good at something, I think doing it your own way is usually the best way to go when it comes to art.
Mhm.
I think that there is a level of respect that people have for doing that,
Mhm.
that I think is very underrated. And it is harder to do it that way for sure. It is definitely harder. It is way harder. And it
Mhm.
takes way more time. But it is very rewarding,
Yeah.
to when you do find that organic success from doing it your own way. It is definitely, I think it feels more satisfying than if I were to like have a song blow up on TikTok.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah, yeah. And how about the engagement aspect of social media? Do you find that people following you on the various platforms, do you have a lot of personal engagement with them, or do you find that they're just more listeners, or just more appreciating what you do, or do you have a lot of engagement with them?
It kind of depends. I have way more monthly listeners on Instagram, on Spotify than I
Yeah.
have like anywhere close to followers on like my main platform that I use is Instagram right now.
Mhm.
And so I think I have like only like 4,000 followers on Instagram, and so I engage with them as much as I can usually.
Mhm.
I like hearing from people because I don't know, because like I'm a person, you know what I mean? It's like if I DM'd someone that I was like in love with their music and they responded and were like having a
Yeah.
conversation, I'd be stoked. And
Yeah, of
so
course.
my perspective is like, these are all people that love my music, and I'm so genuinely like appreciative of that.
Mhm.
And so I'm down to talk to people for sure. Um, and I'll engage as much as I can. I actually I I did a little bit of a blunder. I severely underestimate. I'm bad at math. So on my they did a new thing on Spotify this year where artists could send a personalized message to their top like percent like top when you make it into their top 5 Spotify Wrapped or whatever.
Mhm.
And so I did a video, and apparently a lot of people didn't do one, but I did a video, and it
Uh-huh.
was just like a thank you video basically. And I was like, "Oh, and if you want to DM me um
Uh-oh.
on like a screenshot of your Spotify Wrapped on Instagram or to my email here, I'll send you, a free piece of merch." I thought it was gonna be like 20 people or something.
Oh,
I thought it was gonna be
no. Oh,
just a few
man.
people. Oh man, it was like almost 150 people, and so I don't even have that much merch. So I ordered. I'm doing a bunch of signed printouts of the EP, and so I have like
Mhm.
a bunch of little like CDs with the booklet with some cool art and stuff on it. And so I'm just gonna do those, and I'm gonna include a couple other little goodies, and hopefully that, and also I'm relaunching my merch site also. And so I'm
Uh-huh.
gonna include a little voucher, like a little thank you thing, and give them like 30% off their first order or whatever. but I felt so bad. I was like, I want to do something cool for people. I was like, that's a lot of money. Like, that's too many people.
You're like, whoa, 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 whoa.
I did not do the math.
It's not a bad problem to have, though. I mean, when you really think about it.
True. Yeah. Yeah. But like, I think that I want to be as engaged as I can be
Mhm.
on like whatever community does form around my music. I want to be, as involved as I can be, because I think that's really cool, and I'm genuinely just very grateful that people are interested.
Yeah, yeah. And what plans do you have live performance wise? Are you planning on doing any touring or any festivals or anything like that?
So there's a tricky one because okay, so I would love to do live shows again. But it's just me, and my
Mhm.
music is so big and there's so much.
Mm,
So I wouldn't ever want to do solo stuff really. At least not for a little bit. It'd have to be the right setting, the right vibe, and I'd have to be able to develop a really cool set.
mhm.
But I would definitely want to do it full band, and so that means that I have to hire out a full
Yeah.
live band, pay them every show, pay them for rehearsals, and those, the songs are really big, so they take a little bit of time to learn and stuff and get developed right.
Mhm.
And so it's there's a logistical and financial aspect that like if I was gonna do a tour, it cost me like I think I did the math once, and it was like 10 grand a week or something to like
Oh,
for all of
man.
the
Yeah.
costs of like paying for their whether the lodging and food per
Mhm.
diem and day rate for the shows and stuff. And so it's
Right.
like until I can get like if I can get like tour support, either
Mhm.
either I do like a distro deal or something and maybe get like tour support. But I
Mhm.
would love to for sure. It's just like, some stuff has to line up for that to become a thing. But
Yeah, yeah. No,
yeah.
it definitely seems like a massive undertaking to
It
pull
really
something like
is.
that together, especially on your own, you
It's
know?
like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm completely on my own out here. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Do you find where being where you're at now, and having the amount of activity you have with the music now, is it still manageable to handle everything on your own, or do you feel overwhelmed with all of the various hats you have to wear?
I'm constantly overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I'm constantly overwhelmed with all the things that I have to do and have to be doing. Um, but I'm happy to do it. It's just like
Mhm.
it's like if I don't, I literally have like a to-do list every day of things that I need to do, because if I don't, I will just forget some important things. It's
Yeah.
also having ADHD, but
Right.
but yeah, I think that in the next year or two, it'd be nice to get someone on management for some things.
Mhm.
But as of right now, where things are at, I'm handling it. I'm able to handle everything
Mhm.
for the most part. But as soon as things were to like dive into like doing shows, going on tours, I would definitely need somebody to jump in and handle some logistical stuff,
Mhm.
because it can
Mm.
be so overwhelming. And
Yeah.
like you have to wear so many hats. Like I
Yeah.
have to wear so many, and I'm producing all of this music myself as well. So I'm writing and singing and recording and playing every instrument except for strings. I can't play strings. I got a really good string player for the CP. But it's just like there's so much stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So it does get overwhelming for sure.
Yeah, I bet. I know. Well, it's crazy knowing, you really do in this business, you really do have to be so many things. It is, it'd be lovely if it were just about the art and just about
Yeah.
being a creative, but you really do have to pull together a lot of skills to run it like a business, honestly.
Honestly, yeah, and you can't just do one thing, at least for the most part.
Mhm.
Like I don't just do Saint Mesa. I produce for other artists, I do
Mhm.
mixing projects. I'll do some live stuff if I have somebody that needs keyboards that I can jump into. I'm teaching myself videography, so I've shot a couple music videos so far.
Mhm.
Like you got to do a lot of different things
Yes.
in order to make it work.
Mhm.
Um, and so yeah, it is a lot.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we always talk about that on the Unstoppable Singer is like one of the key elements to having a career with longevity is making sure that you have multiple streams of income and multiple channels that you're working on, not having all your eggs in one basket. I mean,
Exactly.
at times that does in fact work, but when you're if you're wanting to just make a sustainable living at doing this, it's really important that you do pick up those other things that you're good at and that you enjoy doing as well.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I want to go back to talking about your creative processes and just the artistry that's gone into Saint Mesa, and I'm interested to know how you pulled together just the image, the artistic elements of it. Um, Iris and I were talking about your music, and she was saying that there's a lot of meaning and symbolism in the choices you make artistically, and what has shaped and influenced that. What drew you to pulling that
Mm.
together?
That's a hard. I feel like it's like so much of it is like amalgamations of things that I liked growing up and things that I was like. I love like fantasy,
Mhm.
and I love like I grew up loving like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, and um there are so many elements of stuff like that, and like video games that I played when I was young that I was like obsessed with, like Legend of Zelda. And there's so much like imagery in all of that art, because so much of that is just like genuine art.
Mhm.
And I think so much of that stuff inspired me, and kind of I carry with me as as an adult now.
Mhm.
um but I don't know, I think developing the project was really interesting because, like I said, I was coming out of a making more pop oriented stuff, and there was a part of me that's always wanted to make more cinematic leaning music.
Mhm.
I've always loved soundtracks. I love Hans Zimmer is a huge inspiration to me musically. It's just in
Mhm.
terms of like the colors that he paints with, essentially, in
Mm.
terms of like the harmonic stuff that he uses for his movements and all that. And so there was always a part of me that wanted to make that music. And I think a lot of times the music that I love in movies tends to skew in a darker, more intense, more tribal route. I mean, you look at like the score from like Lord of the Rings, like there are
Mhm.
some really just like deep feeling moments in the scores. And so I think that the darkness of the music that I wanted to make, and the aesthetic that I was developing into as a young adult, they kind of like reached like a perfect like point with each
Mhm.
other. And then I was like, oh, this is nice. Like, oh, things feel like, feel like
Yeah.
we've finally reached where we need to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then things kind of went from there. Like for me, um the aesthetic is so easy,
Mhm.
like because it genuinely is just me, and my preferences and my tastes, and the
Mhm.
things that I like, and the things that I want to wear, and the things that I want to have in my home. And to me, the it really was like a magical thing finding the music that can finally reach my personal aesthetic, and having them meet perfectly.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, they just kind of they developed together into each other essentially.
Yeah. Wow. And is there what is the meaning behind Saint Mesa behind the name?
So the name has a couple meanings. One, I was toying around with just Mesa in general because I really liked I really like nature references, and so like a mesa is like a big like flat topped rock.
Mhm.
And I remember I have a cool memory like hiking one in Oregon with some family when I was really young,
Mhm.
and it was just beautiful. But there's another meaning behind that. Mesa in Spanish, I'm half Chilean.
Mhm.
Mesa in Spanish means table. And I grew up in a pretty big family. I have three brothers and a adopted sister,
Mm.
and my mom and my dad. And so we are also a very welcoming family. And so
Mhm.
friends, partners, whatever, everyone was always welcome. And so we would have these massive gatherings on Sunday. We do Sunday dinner. So we have these
Mhm.
massive gatherings on Sunday, like all the time, where we would just like everyone would be welcome. We'd have a ton of people around the table. And I really liked that kind of. Oh, my lizard's running around. Calm down. Um,
A visitor.
yeah, you got the zoomies.
Aw.
But I liked the reference to that, and so I
Yeah.
kind of brought that in. And the saint is kind of just like it was an added on thing, but I like it because it's kind of a reminder to always strive to be the best person that you can be, essentially.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's kind of the meaning.
I love that so much because it speaks to like just who you are as a person, your values, the things that mean most to you in life. I love that that's just drawn into, the complete image, the total vibe of what Saint Mesa is.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
really
Like I
cool.
said, I want it to be a very personal, like,
Mhm.
reflection of me, essentially. So yeah.
Yeah, very cool. I had a question come in on asking, what is a dream project or collaboration for you?
Ooh, it's always a fun one to think about. I would love to do like a soundtrack with Hans Zimmer. That'd be so cool. That'd be
Mm,
so cool.
mhm.
I don't even know how realistic it is, but that'd be so cool. Or a band that I really love, Sunlux. They're fantastic. Huge fans of them. They
Okay.
just did the soundtrack for Everything Everywhere All at Once, which cleaned up at the award show. What award show was that? The Oscars? I don't know. I don't watch
Oh,
that.
that just took place?
That just took place. Was it the Oscars
Was it the Emmys?
or the Emmys? No, Emmys is TV, right?
Uh,
None of us know. It's
I
fine.
don't even have
They made a
cable.
good soundtrack. That's all I was trying to say.
It was the Oscars. Arlie is in the
Yeah,
comments.
Arlie.
Thank you, Arlie. Yeah. Oh, very cool. So it's really, really inspiring to hear your journey and how everything has unfolded for you. And then to see, just presently where you're at, with the music and everything. Um, what would you say to singers, musicians, artists out there right now, uh, who might be in a creative rut?
Hmm. The creative rut. um, it's hard. I feel like everyone has a different experience coming out of creative rut.
Hmm.
Um, Everyone's different. Different things work for people. Um, but I would say, biggest of all, don't be hard on yourself,
Hmm.
because that will just make it worse. And it's
Yeah.
easy to say that from a perspective where you're not in a creative rut, but it's like you're an artist, you're a singer, whatever. You know what to do. It is just a matter of time before you catch up with yourself, essentially.
Yeah.
And I think that just give yourself time, give yourself grace in those ruts. Experiment with things that you maybe don't normally do. Maybe go for a walk at the beginning of the day. Like
Yeah.
there are things that will work for some people and things that won't. Go on a trip somewhere or something. Like
Mhm.
experience something new. Try new foods. Go find inspiration somewhere and bring it
Mhm.
back with you. And also, when you are kind of getting out of that, when you get that inspiration, ride the inspiration wave for as long as you can.
Mhm.
Don't ignore it. Don't give it time to sit. Take it, run with it, go with it. Because that energy, that creative energy, is really valuable. And is sometimes hard to get consistently.
Yeah, yeah. So you're saying taking actions to spark that creativity and
Yeah.
not waiting for it just to arrive, but to
Yeah. Try do things to see what happens and what works.
hmm. And what is your creative regimen as far as like how do you intentionally carve out time to work on your projects? Do you schedule or do you just go with the flow when you're in
It
creative
kind of
mode?
depends. Like I said, I have really bad ADHD, so
Mhm.
um it depends. I think when I am in uh full creative brain writing mode and I'm developing a bunch of songs, I will just do it this is my full-time thing. So if I don't have
Mhm.
something else, like if I don't have another project that needs my attention, I'll just
Mhm.
be doing my stuff, essentially.
Right.
And so when I'm in that headspace, I'm just doing it all the time, like every day,
Mhm.
for as long as my brain can keep up with, with where I want things to go. But when I am not in that, creative flurry of work, when I have like things that I need to get done, like I need to dive in and I need to edit this section of this song. When I have those things, I'll just put them on a list of like things I want to do today. I want to get through these checklists of things, and then I will finish those things and check them all off if I can. If I miss a couple, it's fine, but I will try and get everything done, and then the next day I will have another list. That's been really helpful for me, is trying to be trying to have goals, like even the small goals where I'm like, bounce out a mix of this for someone because they asked for one stem, and I'll do that, and having those little small goals to check off the list of like creative things that you need to do
Mm-hmm.
has been really helpful to keep up with all the work that it can be.
Yeah, yeah. I'd like to ask about the about ADHD and how that plays out in your life creatively. Do you find it to be a creative superpower for you, or what are the ups and downsides of that for you?
It's kind of uh it's like a superpower, but also like an Achilles heel kind of situation where it's
Hmm.
like, if you let maybe, I don't know if that analogy works. It's all the time, always. And so
Hmm.
whether you're hyper focused on the music that you're doing, you can easily get hyper focused on something else. And
Yeah.
so it's really, you're constantly just gently reminding yourself, we're doing this. We're not
Hmm.
doing this. We're doing this, and it's like but when you can get that hyper focus on something, you can just like zoom, like
Yeah.
you can make a song a day.
Hmm.
um and so sometimes I love the productivity that can come with being able to ADHD focus on something, and then sometimes I'm like, why do I keep looking at my phone? There's nothing on there for me. Why do I keep doing this?
Right.
Why did
Yeah.
I just go and read this book that I had in my room, and I was just reading it laughing, and I'm like, I should be doing something. I have something to do.
Uh, yeah.
So yes, it's sometimes good, sometimes bad.
Yeah, I see. I had another question come in, that what is something on your journey as an artist that you are currently learning?
Ooh, that's a tough question.
Mhm.
It's always hard to know the lessons when you're in one, you know?
Yeah, that's so true.
I think I am learning that I am more capable than I often let myself think I am.
Mhm.
Um, and so I think that a lot of times that doubt, and it's not even like I'm doubting myself. Like it's genuine. Like, oh, I don't think I can do that. I can't do that yet. It's like, it's not like a down on yourself kind of doubt. It's just like what I would think of as just an average like limitation that I put on myself.
Mhm.
Kind of figuring out that like maybe those limitations are literally just in my head. They're
Mhm.
not actually real limitations. And what if I push myself past that limitation? Sometimes I can just do those things when I
Yeah.
thought that I couldn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that can come creatively. Like I used to work with a producer on everything that I did for a while, up until the last EP that I released. I had worked on with a producer, and I love work. I would work with him all the time if I could, but he became busy. He moved to like Nicaragua, and then he moved to Portugal, and I was just like, I can't wait for this guy to come back to
Mm.
the States. So
Mhm.
I ended up like essentially, like, I know how to produce, but I essentially had to like learn how to produce my stuff at the quality that I had grown accustomed to. And it was a thing that I was so afraid of, and like I'm not a I'm not like a top shelf producer that can do those kinds of things. And then I just had to do it, and I did it, and I could do it. Like, took
Yeah.
some learning, and I took time. But I think those limitations that we put on ourselves are often just in our heads.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that answer. And it's funny you say that, because on this show, all of the singers that come on here have experienced, various levels of success. Um, but the through line that I find with almost everybody, that are really like rocking in their careers, and and making things work, is this level of um just kind of scrappiness or, industrious, mindset where, I mean, you're a perfect example of that, being a self-taught musician and then still, going into production, taking all of that on, on your own and everything. I think that's such an important quality to really embrace in yourself in this field, is like having that self-starter motivation, and that um everybody's going to have the imposter syndrome. That's just part of our life, but it's the ability to just step into it, accept it, and move past it. But I really, I admire that quality so much, that, and it really makes your journey inspiring.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's definitely a thing that's almost required to
Yeah.
to be like a full-time artist and musician and performer, like to be able to adapt in a uh, productive way.
Hmm.
Definitely very, very important for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's so important for singers because there's such the stereotype of just being a singer.
Yeah,
But when you really own your career overall and take responsibility for all of those different hats that you do have to wear, that I'm not saying you have to be an expert in, production, or you don't have to be perfect at piano, guitar, or anything like that.
yeah,
But just recognizing those things, that if you find that you have dependency on others that would slow you down from the creative process or just from moving forward in your career, if you're aware of those elements and just taking that responsibility to say, you know what, I probably could do this, I probably could learn enough about this to be dangerous, or just to get shit done
yeah.
at least.
Yeah, 100%. I think that was a big thing, was like the dependency on others for me was a really
Hmm.
big thing that in the last few years I kind of have taken control of a lot of things.
Hmm.
I had a manager for a bit, and it was, it was definitely nice. I think a lot of times, having someone to manage stuff can be really good, but I think I became depended on him to do so much, and he
Hmm.
didn't do as much as I was hoping for, and it just became this thing where I was like, I could just do this, and so I ended up just kind of taking the reins and being the person to do all of those things. And then with my buddy who is a producer, like I talked about a little bit ago, it was kind of also the same thing where I'm like, I can't keep waiting on this guy, to be available to help me produce these songs.
Hmm.
And so, like, basically, I would take the songs to a demo point, and then up until that point, I would like be done with those, and then I'd bring them to him, and then we would record a bunch of stuff. And I had to be like, I have to take these past this point so that I can release music.
Mhm.
And even going back to the very beginning of how I started doing music, I was dependent on somebody to sing on my tracks.
Right.
So and I
Yeah,
was like, I'm just gonna do it, and then I did it, and it was
that's
fine.
huge. Who knew?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think you're right. I think getting as many of those dependencies, uh, like learning those things, as many as you can, essentially, will be incredibly helpful for you in the long term. Like that versatility, I think is really important.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. It has been so great getting the chance to talk to you, to learn about your journey and your creative process. I've gone ahead and posted your links in the comments, so everybody can check out your social media platforms, and so that they can stay tuned for, is it Friday that the single is coming out?
Yeah, Friday the first single will come out.
Awesome. Where's the best place for everybody to?
Wherever you listen to music, Apple Music, Spotify, Google Music. There's so many places to listen to music. I looked at
Yeah.
the thing on the distributor, and I was like, people are listening to music at all these places. That's crazy.
That's great. And what's the name of the single?
The single will be called Auteur. It's a meaning of author.
Uh-huh.
And so that will be the first one of the kind of batch of music that'll be coming out. So
Great. I'm excited to hear it. I want to leave with one final question that I ask everybody at the end of our interview, and that is, what makes you unstoppable?
ooh, that's a big question.
Yes.
I would say what makes me unstoppable would be I don't know how to, that seems like giving an answer seems like such a definitive answer.
Yeah, I like
Let me
to
think. Let me
surprise
think.
lay it on everybody because I think it's just whatever your heart says, whatever that gut reaction is always the best answer.
I think, that's such a hard one.
Yeah.
Unstoppable. 'Cause that's such a big word. I don't know if
Mhm.
I feel unstoppable all the time. I would say that for me, I think what makes me unstoppable is that I'm not putting my success on anyone else, and I'm not putting my success on any number or any monetary value of anything.
Mhm.
I'm putting my success on what makes me happy and feel fulfilled.
Mhm.
And I don't think that anyone can take that away from you. You know, your streams could plummet, whatever. But if you are making something that you feel fulfilled by and you feel proud of, and you
Mhm.
can genuinely put your name behind the thing that you're doing, and be proud of that and be happy with that, I think that no one could ever take that away from you.
Yeah. That's a brilliant answer. I love
I feel
it.
like I beat the system.
That was great. I love it so much. Well, Danny, thank you again so much. And thank you to everybody who joined us live tonight for jumping into the chat. I can't wait to hear the single on Friday. And we'll definitely be watching to see what unfolds for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.